Hey guys, thank you for joining us again for another exciting episode of YOMO. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we're on a brand new book, and I think this is a good book. So that's why there's three parts. So this is part
Four
one of
parts.
three.
Yeah. I think
Okay,
I think I screwed up the
okay,
title when it says one of three because I'm pretty sure I wrote four.
all right. So that means it's even better than good. So
This
let's get
is
to this. Is the first part.
this was a very good book. I absolutely loved it. The book was called An Everyone Culture: Becoming a Deliberately Developmental Organization by Robert Kegan and Lisa Laskow Lahey. This book is about something that these people call DDOs, a deliberately developmental organization. Basically, these organizations are exactly what they say. They're designed around incredibly developmental cultures and really care about their people. And, you know, they start with, well, I'll talk about it in the reflection here in a second. But long story short, like it was basically written for Clubney. And it was literally, I mean, I was like, these companies are Clubney. It's just,
Okay.
there's a twist. And then we'll get to the twist. I was like, this is fantastic. I was like, oh, it does exist, right? I was like, it exists out there in the real world, in the wild, and it works really, really well. However, we're going to look at it with a bit of a twist. So that's what we're going to do right now. This is
Interesting.
over the
Okay.
next few reflections, right? And you already know what the twist is. Like you're on pins and needles over there, but we're part of the club. This is about in our journey. So but I'm explaining it to people that don't know. That's what this reflection is about. So the reflection title for reflection one is VC versus CC. So a venture capitalist versus a culture capitalist. And you go, what the fuck is a cultural capitalist, right? Well, Peter Drucker, as I think you know this, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So he's a famous business management guru, Silicon Valley investor, really famous guy. I don't know what he's exactly famous for. A lot of writings, criticism, logo, bibliographies. What did he invest in? Because I know he was big in, I don't know, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I've never actually read one of Drucker's 39 books. Uh, Probably should. This is something I could dig into after this. But anyway, he has a famous saying that says, the culture eats strategy for breakfast. So this is something that venture capitalists have known for decades, right? Anybody can have a great idea in theory, right? And then build a business out of it. Some people can actually turn it into something profitable. But if you want something explosive, if you want a unicorn, if you want what the VCs all want, they want a massive return. They want a black swan. They want a unicorn for their investment. That's what they care about. They don't even really care if you're a profitable company. Like if a VC invested in a company that, made them $10 million a year or whatever, they'd be like, whatever. They want this massive, explosive, that's what they hunt for, right? So they've known for a really long time, like, there's a lot of businesses out there that can be profitable. That's not biggest bang for your buck. What is the biggest bang for your buck is when businesses take that idea and turn it into some profitability, but then they build a culture around it, and that culture is like fire. Like it's just like ignites it. People latch onto this idea, they latch onto the values of the organization, whatever it may be, the mission of the organization, and it just snowballs fast. And all of a sudden, boom, you find yourself with a unicorn. They make a lot of money, right? So VCs understand the power of culture. That's why Peter Drucker says, culture eats strategy for breakfast, meaning you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you don't have an amazing culture to light that fire and to keep that fire going, you're kind of fucked. So you and I have explored this and known this for a while. I knew this back in the day. I heard this quote from Peter Drucker years ago, way before I've always wanted to start my own startup. And that was kind of the idea behind it anyway. I lived this with Angie's List. This is part of the reflection I wrote on here. I've seen the power of culture to take a small, tiny startup, ignite it, grow it, and go public, and then all the other things that come with it. And then I saw it fall apart. I saw a culture fall apart as well, and how sad that was. So I've seen the personally lived through the explosive power of when a culture ignites and one of these smaller startups and just takes off and becomes a unicorn, right? And it's powerful, man. It is friggin' powerful. Something I will never forget. Some of my closest friends, it makes you, connects to people, connects you meaningful relationships, to your work becomes more meaningful. It's just everything feels good. Like everything feels right. And I long for those days at Angie's List. I know a lot of my fellow former colleagues long for those same days at Angie's List. We still all get together and talk about it, like how much we miss the old culture, and how much we miss the old days. And it sucks because we can't go back to that, right? That culture is dead. It's gone. We're there. I'm setting the stage with all this stuff. So as you know, before you met me, I was trying to start my own startup, and I've known this idea, but I always knew that you had to have for VCs, like you have to have an idea first, and you have to have commerce around that idea first. You have to have product market fit, and then you build the culture. That's how it works, right? You have an idea, you have a product, you have product market fit, and then you build a culture around it. That's it, right? You agree? That's how this works. Like, there's never. Have you ever seen an example of somebody that didn't go that route in the VC world or any kind of commerce-driven activities culture that's been built?
No, no, they all want some kind of like evidence of market fit
Right.
before they even look at you.
Right.
And so VCs are notoriously looking for some traction. Traction is where they say, "Hey, give me traction, show me traction, show me traction."
Product market
So,
fit. They want
uh,
product market fit, and they want
yes, they don't talk about culture. Yes, they talking about founders and yeah, founders is important, which is based on the Y Combinator influence. They are now looking at founders and saying, is a founder really committed? Are they
right.
putting their soul in the game and
Which
this and
matters.
that?
Yeah.
But
They don't talk about
they
culture.
don't talk
Nobody
about
nobody
right.
talks about culture when they're starting out. They say you need to build a culture maybe, or you need to have values, you need to have a mission, you need to have a purpose, but they don't say your culture will come based off of that, right? Is the implications of it, right? Or is the downstream ramifications of how that starts. But it's product market fit, it's grit, passion and perseverance. That's what they're looking for. The grit, the
Yeah,
product
I mean,
market.
always have grass.
Yes.
Okay, I don't care what you do. The ground will always have grass. As
Yep.
long as there's dirt, there's always grass. So when you play in the dirt, right, you can either sow the grass you want, or the grass will find its places in the crevices and will grow.
Right.
And so culture is the same way. Culture is like, it's not that you can't build a culture. Culture will always a result of people coming together. That's culture.
Yep.
Okay. And culture is going to say, okay, if there are spaces and there's opportunities and there are chances are the seeds of grass will flow into the area of dirt and will start to sprout. And
Mhm.
so you can either sow the grass you want or you let the grass grow by itself. That means that you can either sow the culture you want or let the culture happen on its own, and the culture is there regardless. And it may not be the culture you want, i.e., the grass you want. And
Right.
so chances are the grass that you never sow isn't the grass you want.
Probably not, and that's why most of these
Because you
businesses
can't say,
fail, and
hey,
that's why
this is my
nobody.
yard. St. Augustine will grow on it.
Right.
Do you think St. Augustine can grow on it? And all you to see is St. Augustine. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Chances that there's very, very low chances that your whole entire yard is all St. Augustine and nothing else.
Right.
Just one uniform grass, one uniform culture. You think about that for a moment. Culture is the same way. If you don't deliberately sow the grass and till the ground and water the grass and making it and trimming it, you're gonna have a hodgepodge of different kind of grass, and you don't like them.
Yep. I agree. This is the underlying conditions of a business either succeeds or fails, right? It is either a massive success or maybe a little success or a complete failure. It is exactly what you're talking about. As this journey for me led up to Amelia, I was always proceeding forward with product market fit, idea, product market fit, VC, culture, like whatever. That was the order, right? Amelia, obviously, as we've talked, arrives and the whole world blows up. Incredibly impactful 39 days with her, but at the same time, though, just devastating 39 days, right? Well, not the 39 days, but afterwards, right? Like losing her. I spent a lot of time searching, trying to figure out. Everything blew up from my previous life of what I wanted to do before, but my paradigm's completely shifted as well. I made a promise to her where eventually when I emerged from that rubble of my life, I found who I wanted to be. I found my weird, which I'm reading about today. It's called WIRD. That's a fate, a destiny, particularly in Anglo-Saxon and Old Norse context. It's what Anglo-Saxon and Norse mythology about fate or destiny. So it's a word called weird. It's like finding your weird. It's supernatural, unexpected. And I loved it. I was like, oh man, finding your weird, right? So I, through my journey with Amelia, after she left us, I kind of find my weird a little bit, right? The first thing that I thought of is I'm not going to do this shit like they want us to do anymore. Like I'm just going to honor her life and I'm going to do everything that I want to do and live a life full of meaning and purpose, just like she taught me. And that was when I decided to come out from my shell a little bit. My imagination was flowing again. My creativity was starting to flow. this is when you came along, right? I don't know if you remember our first conversation that we had, but I told you, I have an idea. What I want to build is a culture. What I want to build is something that people want to be, that promotes people live in a balanced existence, that promotes these particular values. This is what we want to do. I mean, this is the first time that we talked. That was what I said to you, right? It wasn't as clearly defined as what we're talking about now, but it was similar. That was what was in my head at the time. I was like, I don't give a fuck about building a business anymore. I want to build something that matters. I want to build something that people want to be around, that aligns, that'll make my daughter proud. I don't really care about what we do. We had an idea of the what, but that quickly got thrown out the window. We just agreed to talk every single night about it and figured, let's figure out what this culture will look like, right? Slowly but surely, that idea, that central theme, started to compound over from time to time. Through every night when we would talk, just like we're talking right now on these conversations, which then became our 7th generation Iroquois committee meeting. Eventually, along the way, as we continued to learn and explore, we started reading books together. We started contemplating ideas like, what is this culture we want to build together? We said, fuck the idea of culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's culture is the strategy. We're going to build a world-class culture first, right? That was the idea. And that is what Clubany is. So we flipped it all around where we said, this is culture comes first, then the product, then the what, and then it'll be a million different products and what's, like in theory, but the culture always stays the same. The culture is what we start with, and the culture is what we're going to protect always. Color me shocked when I came across this book called An Everyone Culture, which is all about these 3 deliberately developmental organizations. And, as I've been searching and searching, and you and I have both been searching together about, like, is this really going to work? Is this possible? Like, to have companies that really just focus on people and care about the human at the core and focus on a particular idea and a philosophy and building a culture, like, versus the actual product, kind of side of everything? The answer is yes. They exist. They do exist out there. And it was almost uncanny, the stuff that we do for our core values quest and for the activities we do and the culture that I've been building within our Clubany Light program at work. Like, it was almost carbon copy. You know what one of those companies was?
Is this
No. We've read a book about it.
about the company? Let me go surfing.
No, it actually wasn't. But that would have been a good one. No, it was Bridgewater Capital, i.e. Ray Dalio, i.e. Principles, was one of these deliberately developmental companies.
Oh, really? Okay.
These people studied. I don't want anything to do with that culture, but the theory still is.
But the theory still stands because, like I said before, when you have a yard with a bunch of dirt, right? There is a certain type of grass you want to grow. You say, like, right. The thing is, let's say I like St. Augustine. Somebody else may not like St. Augustine. And so when I build a culture and the grass is nice for me, but people would say, hey, I don't like that grass. So same thing with Ray Dalio. If the point is a cohesive culture gives you that phenomenal returns on your investment. And that's the point. The point of this is this culture. And what we say about yesterday, we learned from yesterday is the end result of being impeccable with your words, right? It doesn't really happen without going through the first step, second step, third step, fourth step. And no one can foresee and be able to just start out and say, hey, something is impeccable. No one knows that. And you can't say, well, people have followed a certain formulas and a certain formula works this way and that way. I mean, that's what I say is sometimes because there's so many different variable in the process that you cannot completely repeat it 100%. You can only take inspiration and, kind of use that inspiration and test it out for yourself and make it your own. And I think from the beginning, you and I, when we first met, you wanted to instill these values that you had already. And you and I started to dream about the day when we have this company and we talk about we should have a siesta, we should have no fine policy,
like?
right? We start dreaming about this. And to me, I want to point out the fact is that this is something we want to do, but it feels right to us.
Yes.
It feels like, okay, this is something we want to do and we're enjoying the process a lot. And eventually this process gets us to where we are today because we're talking about the actual business itself. And then the business itself said, well, this business, we want to build into this kind of company where these are the things we do. And the things we do has nothing to do with the company. We're talking about like right? It has
Nothing.
nothing to do with the business. It has nothing to do with how we make money, because we're talking about having a siesta. We're talking about trading.
2 years
So,
after the job
all
breaks.
about, and the other thing we dream about, it's all about how we build this environment.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't talk about, I guess, the directness of what the business does and how it form. What we're talking about, the environment of the business.
Yes.
So
The
the
culture.
culture is what we dream about. The culture is what draws us to this. And then over the years, we start looking into like, okay, then we go into the core values quest, and then we talk about, we stumble on the clubany, the concept, and then we talk about the core value quest, and then we talk about reading the books, and so the thing is, naturally, we do what makes sense. And we said this about this before, is a lot of things that we do, it really has to do with how you feel about certain activity that you do. If you do them right, and you feel that, hey, there is a positive attraction to that, you are on the right path, regardless of what people say. People say, well, there is a book out there, or there isn't a book out there. To me, it doesn't really matter, because like, even if there isn't this book to confirm what we say and what we do,
but it's not confirming.
change.
That's the thing, is like, they every one of these businesses, whether or not they're a deliberately developmental organization like we're trying to be with Clubany, they all started with commerce at its core, right? Like Next Jump, Bridgewater, and then the other company, right? Yes, they are very protective of their culture, and that is what is the catalyst to grow them. But someday that is not going to be there. I don't care how protective you are of that culture will go away. What we're doing, though, is we started this whole thing. Eventually, we got the idea. The question, the beautiful question was, what if we created the culture first and then discovered the venture or the ventures along the way to keep the mission going, right? So like, can you do that? Like, yes, that is Clubany. That's what we're trying to do, is like, can you just start with the culture and then see what happens with the what's that come down the road? The answer to that, I feel like, is obvious. Like, I mean, you've seen this in many, many cultures across time and space, and humanity, of, religions and Freemason societies and fraternities, and, whatever, you name it, like, organizations dedicated to, particular, endeavors. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's kind of irrelevant, but there's been cultures that have succeeded and thrived that were built as cultures first, not as, they weren't attached to a what, they were attached to an idea.
Society is not going to allow us to do the culture first unless you deliberately build the culture first, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you follow society's norm, they want you to go through the process of, hey, have an idea, show me some traction, show me that you can do this stuff, show me you can make money, then you can build a culture on it. And you can say, well, by that time, you don't have a choice in the culture. Cultures already start growing.
But yeah,
and so you cannot actually,
they're tied together. They're tied. Like, your culture is that.
You think about it. You can't say, well, I'm going to build something completely new, because you are actually building your foundation on wooden sticks. Yeah. So eventually, when you build the culture on top of it, it's going to collapse. It's going to collapse the wooden stick that you put your floors on, right?
Right.
And so that's why I say, most company will go the same traditional route. And there are certain companies that succeed, and most companies fail. Some companies succeed. And I think the attribute to that is you allow, by chance, right? There is a good culture that comes out. Basically, you attract, let's say somebody is more concerned about relationship, more concerned about building a good culture, and that person happens to be at the home and happens to be allowed by these investors and by his environment to allow him to bring people in that like-minded, and so those things come out. But that is by chance, and because by chance, and also by chance, that kind of mindset was allowed to grow, and that starts to take over. Because you look at all the companies that have been successful, the business they do wasn't the first idea, right? It's always pivoted many times into they found a fit, and everything comes from the natural ability to say. That's what I'm saying is, if you do certain things and you enjoying it, the culture is going to start to drift you towards that particular environment.
Slack's a perfect example. Like, they loved using the product, they built it for themselves, and then they realized, oh, hey, we built something really cool. Maybe we should share it with people. And
I
they
mean,
did.
you talking about Airbnb as well, because Airbnb, their first,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they just want to rent out their rooms,
Right.
but because
Right.
it naturally drifted toward what it needs to be drifted toward. And as long as by chance that these culture happens to be allowed to be grown in that fashion, and that's is what makes these companies unicorns. But the commonality between these companies is
This is people.
they have great environment, which is
Right.
culture. The
Yeah.
culture. I mean, people are the culture, because when you
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
get together, we
Right.
form a culture. It's basically
Yep.
it's just the norm.
Yep.
How do we behave?
It's our values. It's our shared values. Like, I
Exactly,
mean,
values. And so that's why the culture is something you either deliberately put together, or it will happen without you even
yeah,
telling it to do. Okay,
it
so
happen either way. Like it
as
happens no
long
matter
as
what
there's a
when a group of
space,
people
as
are.
long as
Right.
there's space,
Right.
weed, grasses, whatever will be invading that area of dirt and will grow. So you either grow your St. Augustine now before you do anything else, right? You
Yep.
either grow your grass or you do something else, and then
Right.
by the time you look back, the bunch of grass already grown,
Right. And
right?
you can build whatever you want to build on top of it. You can tear it down, you can build more stuff. But to your point, like if you said, "Oh, I'm going to build a house and then I'm going to build, a platform, build grass on top of that. I want the house to sit on grass, but I'm going to build the house first because this is what I want to build here." Like you don't know that house can last. I mean, like you have no idea. Like the what that gets built on it can change over time, right? Like that can go. But
Yeah,
if you don't build a solid foundation at the core, like of all of it, so what if we're successful with this, like which we have a plan, we're still trying to figure out exactly how to go execute on it, but like if we're successful, I can envision a world in the future where capitalists like start to invest in startup cultures, not startup ventures, right? Like get rid of the word venture, because like you could just
I
take two
I
people
think
that
eventually, I think you have to. I mean, to me, you and I gonna spend like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, just you and me.
Mhm.
But because it's exponential, because by the time you have another person that's really into it, it's become the third person, and then it's gonna go
Right.
multiply to like 9 and 27, 81. But these are exponential. This is why I'm saying it's going to tip, because what we do isn't like, but what we do is, it's private. Like no
Right.
one sees these things. And I
Right.
put this thing on YouTube. I mean, we don't advertise it or nothing, right?
Right.
In the beginning, we have like one view, right? But we done this for like two years, 2 years,
291. Yeah.
2.5 years,
Yeah.
right? We started getting regular subscriber. Where did it come
Right.
from?
I
But the
have no
thing is,
idea.
eventually it will tip, and this is the thing is, it is. But you and I are having the
Fun.
so much fun
Yeah.
doing
Yeah. I
these
mean,
things,
it's
right?
fun.
And
Yeah.
so we don't really want to, even like stop doing what we're doing by, hey, I'm yearning for something else. I'm eating cake right now, and so I'm
Right.
just
Yeah.
enjoying the cake.
Yep.
If more people come, say, oh, so be it. But I'm not saying, hey, I want more people in. To me, this is what I'm aligning with, and I think this is what my life, what my life, life is good kind of feeling, just
Yeah.
because I get to do what I want to do. I get to have this peace of mind. It's making me feel like life is enjoyable.
Yeah.
And to me, that is a reward enough for me to continue to do this until, I mean, I don't know the future, but
It's like this is the biggest point of all of this is we've been doing this now for 3 years every day for 3 years. Like that's fucking insane. And we don't get paid for this. We don't even make any commerce. We wanted to build, like, I don't even remember what we started off with Sport Pass, but there's been so many what's along the way. And like, this is what stuck, like YOMO, and, we've tried other things, but whatever. It doesn't matter. This is sustainable is the fucking point, like of all of this
that's
stuff.
I've been doing this for 3 years, almost every single day. And I'm telling you right now, the big difference is I have not wasted a single sweat. I mean, it doesn't work for me. You think
Not at
about it.
all.
So it's not like, hey, this guy is like enduring these things, and
It's enhanced our lives is what it's done. All it's done is enhanced our lives. I can say that on this end of the call, all our conversations have done has enhanced my life in particular. And we've done that for other people as well. And we're going to continue to do that for other people. It blows my mind, some of the people that we've already touched through this whole entire process. It's really mind blowing. If you talk to any people on my team, they will tell you, I don't even care if we're successful outcomes with what we're doing on our team. They all know that. But what they do know is they're like, Chris, I'm a different human being than I was when we first started these things. I feel more in control of my life. I don't want to leave you guys. Like, I don't want to leave this culture, these other people that I'm around. I don't want to. I might have to because maybe I'm not that successful with what we need to do or something like that. But that's the saddest part about it, right? If we do this the right way, those people don't have to leave. We can just say like, hey, look, what we tried to do, your role in it wasn't great. Go build your own thing. Go do whatever you want to do.
From my perspective, we are already massively successful because I can
Yes.
tell you, right, this is the life that I want. Because yesterday I mentioned Shield, right? I'm sleeping better. For me, it's like the stress level from before to now is like, because I have learned the one for train. It's like nothing gets to me. I mean, I have like million things thrown at me. Okay, I'll juggle it. Like
Whatever.
I mean, I'm an expert at juggling it now.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I have become healthier.
Yeah.
My mind has become more at peace, right? And so, and you can see the transformation through the videos. Look at me in the beginning and look at me now, right? So there's a big difference. So that to me is, I mean, I don't know what do you pay for that kind of transformation. I mean, you're talking about, for me, I have this diabetes where it's like so severe that, I'm like in pain every day. And it's just fucking sucks. It hurts, and it's to me it's pressure, it's stress, whatever. It's everything. Is my life really sucks.
Right.
But you look at me now, I'm complete. I mean, to me, like, if you think about, hey, let's give Steve Jobs the ability to, hey, you don't have pancreatic cancer anymore. I would say he would pay everything, all his fortune, to not have pancreatic cancer.
After reading his book, I actually don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. I don't know that I could give him that answer.
I think you will have a different perspective if you have come across a certain disease that, a chronic disease. Like, I mean, I have a chronic disease that is bad, but not as bad as him. And I guarantee you, I would do anything, right, to get rid of it. And I guarantee you that because he has pancreatic cancer, which is like 100 times worse, he will.
You're probably right.
I can attest to that, because you don't understand it until you get told. People
I have a chronic disease. I have a chronic disease. It's not celiac. My daughter's not here. Like, I mean, like, that's a chronic disease. It affects me every single day.
You are willing to switch, do 180. You would, because of that, right?
I understand.
Anything else to have her back, wouldn't you?
I don't even think that's even
that's not even. I mean, it's not. You say yes right away. You don't even consider. That's what I mean.
Right.
This is what I mean. Because both people don't understand this until they actually have one of those things. Right. So when I say, I would do anything, I mean anything, and I'm serious about that.
Yeah.
So I think it's like I say, there's no amount of money, right, that would be able to give you this kind of transformation, because this transformation, to me, it is something. It's, to me, that I feel so fortunate that I found it.
We are a deliberately developmental organization. We are developing. Like, look at where we started to where we are right now. I know you feel the same way that I feel. I feel so much more in control of my understanding of who I am and who I want to be in my life, in particular to honor my daughter every single moment of every single day. A lot of times, and sometimes it gets a little out of whack. Like, I've had some spells where I feel like I've let things influence me, but I'm so quick to recognize it now, where I know what's happening. Like, I'm going to stop this now. Ironically, I was just writing about this today. I read this book called The Madness of Crowds. It's about gender, race, and identity by Douglas Murray. It was a really interesting, captivating book. I didn't actually mean to buy this book. I thought I bought The Wisdom of Crowds. Because I've been wanting to read that for a while. And it was an Amazon Audible fire sale that was going on. And I was just like, buy. And I bought a book that I thought it was The Wisdom of Crowds, but it was The Madness of Crowds. It was about woke culture and all this other stuff. And it was really, really interesting. This guy, actually, it was a really interesting book. But I found myself about 2/3 of the way in going, this game's intense, and I don't want to play this game. Like, I mean, there's a lot of rules to this game, and this guy did a really good job of bringing it all to fruition. But like, my point being was, I had this realization going, I found myself enjoying it. And I found myself wanting to dive into the fray more of this stuff. And then I was like, no, I don't want to play. I don't want to play this game. I'm done. Like, I'm out. I'm going to push this aside. But this is the stuff that I'm talking about. Like, I can recognize this stuff now, where I was like, I was into it. Like, I could feel, it felt like eating cake a little bit, but started to look out, going, like, if I eat this cake, like, like, this is where this is going to take me. And like, do I want that aligned to any value that I have? like of arguing with people about, at a dinner party about fucking race, gender, and identity or whatever. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, I'm good. Like, I don't want it because I don't care. Like, I really don't care about any of this stuff. I observed it. I listened. I was intrigued, but then I was like, no, I'm done. Like, not that there was anything wrong with what he said at all. Like, or other books.
Right, right. Because I
I'm not
think it's
going down
because
that.
we understand ourselves much more now
Yep.
than before. And this is why I'm saying it. To me, I am hugely, hugely feel fortunate and blessed to have found this thing where I'm completely now have a life that I consider enjoyable. Before, my life was a miserable hell. I mean, because like nothing interested me anymore then. So to me, I am in my own mind a tremendous success that no more money would be able to be enough to pay for this solution, this newness. And you look at yourself, right? You look at yourself, and you look at the Clubby light
Crew.
their life are different, even though it's been only like, I don't know, 8 months or whatever the number.
It's a year now. We're coming up on a year.
For us, like for me and you, we have been through this for 3 years, and
Right.
we're still growing. We're still continuing to learn, right? So there's no stopping.
It's being simplified, refined. Like, we're getting closer. We're simplifying every single day.
As you and I can tell, is we are getting better and better at the person we want to be.
Right.
More and more every day.
And the culture that we want to build. Like, I mean, the people we want to be around. And, it makes it really easy to make decisions. Like, because
a lot of questions you give us, right? There's no thinking about it. We know the answer right away because we know ourselves now that there's something like you say, hey, you're able to catch yourself and say, hey, I shouldn't go down this madness trail.
I immediately caught it. Like, I mean, it was in the middle of the book where I'm like, 5 years ago, reading that same book. Let's just pretend I was reading it. I feel like I probably would have immediately been trying to drop lines and things that I learned in this shit and just casual conversations with my friends, and I would have become really annoying. I would have been that guy, that's like the girl at the party that you don't want to talk to. Like, I would have been that guy at the party that nobody wants to talk to because I'm just dropping casual holes that I'm poking into conversations about race, gender, and identity that I don't really care about. I just want to cause chaos for chaos sake. I just want to be a dick, really, is what it is. Like, I just want everybody to know, hey.
You want to be a dick to be impressive.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, and I love that. Like, I mean, there's nothing more that I love than to poke holes into people's arguments, right? Like, I mean, that's like my favorite thing to do. Like, that is not to take a definitive stand on anything. I don't necessarily come in and be like, this is the way it is. Like, I never would say that to anybody, but I'll just come in and I'll just needle them all over the place. Are you fucking kidding me, man? Like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, I can't.
That's why I'm saying this, that you're still poking needles at people, but then the conversation, you feel bad because, hey, this guy hates me.
One of my best friends, his name's Kevin, which I don't know if I've ever, I know I've talked to you about Kevin before, but like one of my best friends, I remember one night he and I were having this really deep political debate. He's a very hardcore liberal. I don't really have an ideology when it comes to like politics, but I love to poke holes, right? I remember one night specifically, we were up until 4 a.m. at his house, just yelling at each other. He was about ready to punch me, and I just kept going at it. I'm like, let's keep doing this. Like, I felt like I was attacking his identity, right? You know what I mean? I wasn't really taking a stand on anything. But to your point, like, this is one of my best friends, and I was just doing this for fun. Like, it was fucking fun for me.
Moment. It's fun for you in that moment, but after the fact, it's like, hey, there's there's a tension between you and him. I mean, that's an icky feeling.
I didn't go home that night going, yes, I fucking made one of my best friends mad. Fuck, no, I didn't do that. Like, who does that? Like, well, I guess somebody could do that, but not. I mean, my point being is like I could.
I don't know. It's probably gonna be a rare person that could do that.
Right. A psychopath is what that would be. But my point being is like, back to this whole entire stuff. We've been building a deliberately developmental organization at Clubby for the past, well, I would say at least 2.5 years. The first 6 months was kind of exploratory as to
but
to
it's
get
a
to
start. Even in the beginning, when you and I first get together, you had this list of core values. Hey, this is what I want a company to be. You come out and say blah blah blah. Hey, I want this, I want this, I want this. I mean, that's just a start already, because then in the beginning you don't recognize what it is. You say, hey, this is the kind of environment I want this company to be. So to me, that is company. We just didnn't call it company. We didn't know what it was called.
Do we still have that document?
You have that document in Evernote somewhere. The first meeting.
Do you remember? See if I can find that.
Yeah, it's somewhere in July or August of 2020. And you showed David the same Evernote. when you met him.
Oh yeah,
or
I
you
think
met
this is,
me.
I think this is it.
Yep. See.
I think this is exactly like this is, we even had like, we even wrote down ideas like, daily what to focus, traditional, no formal work begins until 12:30. Like, here's your daily expectations, like, I mean, yeah, I mean, we kind of did
I
this a
mean,
little bit,
this is culture. This is
yeah,
company.
it says it right
And
there.
at its earliest form, we just didn't know what to call it.
Right.
We didn't have an idea of, because thing is,
Yep.
you had a vetted business idea, Sport Pass, but we get together. We don't really talk about Sport Pass
No,
that much.
no, not at all. For the first like 3 weeks, I mean, we agreed like we're not going to talk about this at all.
Very little about it, and then we get together. We say, hey, what happens to USDA and what contract, what's the status,
Right.
and then we talk about the work stuff for like maybe 20-30% of the time. After that, we're talking about other fun stuff to us,
Yep.
which is the environment that we imagine are the future of this thing gonna be. That
wild.
is the earliest version of company. We just didn't know what to call it until later on when we say, hey, we want a culture that we want a company that does this, but we're also doing this thing. And then it's like a company and it's like a club. And then Nick will say, well, how about call it company?
We're like,
Okay.
that's it. That made
That's
sense.
it.
Like, okay, we have a name for it. No, it's been a wild journey to even get to this point in time. But this book was freaking awesome. I was like, oh my God, these companies, Clubany exists out there in the world today. It's just tied to a for-profit commerce business venture. Take away the business venture. What would have happened if I would have met you the first time and I said, I don't have any idea of what I want to build, Drew. This is the culture we're going to build. Do you want to do this? What would have happened? Would you have been like, this guy's fucking nuts? He would have been like, what's he
No,
talking about?
I think I would have. The thing is,
You think so?
I don't really care for your idea. I care for what you want in terms of what the company will be. Because I was at that stage where I'm looking for, because I told you, I have so many different people come to me, ask me to be CTOs because I have a technical background. I say no because I don't like how they run things. They run things so dry and so like, it's all business. I shy away from it. But when you get to me, you're talking about these things first, right? I mean, I'm like completely okay. I'm aligned with it, and I'm completely drawn into this vision, and I start dreaming myself. And so, if you come to me, because if you come to me, you're talking about the dream of a place where you and I get to do certain things that jive with what I'm looking for. Yes, definitely. And the only reason why you and I hit it off when we met is because you and I were at a similar mindset, state of mind.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to make fucking money. I didn't give it a shit about what we were building. That was so far from my mind at that point in time.
I dream of a day where I go into the office and we don't do any work until 12:30. We don't have this, basically like the strict policies of do certain
bullshit
things
tasks
just
you have to
because
do,
because somebody made up something. We did because we wanted to, and we want to. I imagine those things. So none of my dream has anything to do with bags and bags of money. None of it. All my dreams is about having fun with the people that have similar mind. And so that's what I imagine. So like when I imagine about money, so that's the thing. That's what draws me to. So I think we would have hit it off if you had positioned yourself as same way you did, but without the idea, it would have hit it off.
Well, I mean, it makes sense now in retrospect, obviously. Like, yeah, I could see that working as well. But that's what we want to do anyway. Like, that's what we always want to do is build a culture. Like, we finally were able to put language around what we're trying to do. Like, eventually, through trial and error.
An image of where we want to be, right? For me, it's an image of where I want to be. It's that I want to be in this place where these people is doing these activities with me. That's what I dream of. I go into the office, I chit chat with my friends, having coffees and playing ping pong and doing whatever. And then, okay, what do I want to do for the next 2 hours from 11 to 12
do my deep work for a couple
and then
hours.
After that, we go do whatever, right? We're talking about siesta at the end of the day. We're talking about rotating the roles every 2 years. I mean, to me, it's like that's what I dream of. I don't dream of boatload of money, having bank accounts in my bunch of money in my bank account, having car. None of those images of cars, money, and lifestyle, whatever, comes into mind. It doesn't, right? So that's what I'm saying is what I dream about is very, very common. It's very mediocre.
Agreed. For anybody out there listening, this book if you care about culture and you care about being like around the stuff, having the feeling that Drew's talking about, read this book, then read The 9 Lies About Work, then read Marcus Buckingham's, both of these, the next 2 books are Marcus Buckingham's. It's called Love and Work. I could recommend Lynchpin as well, potentially. That's about love and work as well. But like, this is all like explicitly, this is basically clubbing in a nutshell. Read these books and you'll understand what we're talking about. This is what matters. People just want to be who they are. If they want to bring their weird out in an environment with other people where all those other people are going to do their weird stuff. We get just, from day one, from birth, we get shoved into these classrooms and people tell us what we're supposed to do and who we're supposed to be. And all you got to do is just work harder and harder and harder until you figure it out. You know, put in your deliberate practice, put in your 10,000 hours, do all this bullshit about stuff that you don't even like to do. You know, on the side, you have stuff that you do actually like to do. You're like, well, I can't do that. You know, why? Like, I mean, we don't ever teach people how to be themselves. Like, I mean, the one thing that you should be an expert in is your fucking self. Like, I mean, in what world, how is there not a course in academia from K through at least 12 where it's like, you know, the course of you, like, you know what I mean? Like discovering.
Yeah, there's a bunch of courses about, you know, how to be this and how to be that, but a bunch of courses on how to run uphill, but there's no course to be how to be you.
About how to be a human, about what matters for you as a human. There's no course about you discovering yourself at all. That blows my mind. We literally will put people into a box and then we will say, you get really good at learning what we want you to learn. And that was what we thought was the right thing to do. It blows my mind, honestly. I'm not saying that we shouldn't get instruction about other stuff that we don't want to know. Like, how are you going to be exposed to stuff that you like or you don't like if you aren't exposed to it, right? Like, so fair enough. Like, get exposure to everything, but you should also have exposure to yourself. You know, like, I mean,
but to me, I don't think that's going to be a problem because in our life we have to do something, and if you are happy with what you do, you already met the calling.
Yeah,
because as a human being, you cannot do nothing. That's something that is like against life in itself.
Right.
But when you are doing things and you don't like it at 100%, right? Not like, oh, I'm 80% or 90%, or like what you say, hey, you love to poke holes, but at the end of the poking hole, you feel bad because you just like. You just like trash your friend,
like
right? Like an asshole. So it's not 100%. Yes, you do enjoy half of it, but the other half was shitty. And so when you get to the point where everything was so good that there's no downside to it, you have found your weird. And I think that you don't have to try different things. As long as you haven't found it, just continue moving on. Keep moving on. Move forward.
Yes.
When you move forward, something will fill that space. In that space, you need to decide to say, hey, this fits or this doesn't fit. The problem is that because you have the faculty to endure and to continue to take shit, to eat shit, doesn't mean you should, right? Because you have the capacity, as a human being, you have the capacity to say, I don't like this job, but I can do it. But you're not happy about it, but you can do it. And the mistake is that you don't quit that job and you don't move forward, so you stay there for 50 years.
You don't know who you are. Where else are you going to go? You're like, well, what else do I do? Like, I mean, you're like, you don't know. Like, you've been given no skills to the stuff that I was just talking about of quickly recognizing while reading a book. Shut this thing down. Like that skill set, like is not taught at all. If anything, like most people are taught like, oh, like, go deeper into that. Like, go explore that further. Go get angry at everybody else.
Yeah, learn how to enjoy the suck.
Right, or
learn how to enjoy the suck.
Or go back into the fray and make sure that everybody knows that you need to be treated differently, but they don't know why they're special, but like they know that they're special. You know what I mean? It's like, no, like I don't need to be treated differently. I just want to know I'm going to act differently because I know what I...
You can ask to be treated special, but no one can treat you special because human nature is still human nature. I don't give a fuck who you are. If I don't think you're special, I ain't treat you special. Right. Only if I think you're special. It's not up to you to decide to ask me to say, hey, you need to treat me this way. I don't fucking care. I don't fucking care who you are. If I don't feel like it, I don't feel like it.
Because I just said we're not getting into the fray on this one, but we are. So I'm done. No, we're out. I'm out. All right. I got to go to bed too anyway. So all right, that was fun. Part 1, part 2, 3, and 4 coming in the next couple of days. So like this is a really good book. I mean, I loved it. Like, I mean, for somebody that loves culture and loves the subtle nuances of how these things are built and developed, and the methodology behind these things. Like, I mean, this is a great book. I mean, it's such a good book about the power of culture and about how you can leverage it and how companies are leveraging it, like to help people to become a deliberately developmental organization where you're helping your people to deliberately develop with conscious thought and intention and purpose and caring about them as humans. So, I mean, it exists, but we're going to do it without even being tied to a product. That's our vision, and it's called Clubbing. So we'll see how it happens.
Yeah, you decorate it afterward. You don't build a foundation with the decorations.
Exactly. Agreed. The question we can leave for everybody is what would happen if you stopped investing in ventures and started investing in cultures instead in the future? I actually can envision a cultural capitalist in the future where they're like, man, Chris and True, like, what if I just gave you guys, a couple $100,000 to go sit in a room for 3 years, or something like that, and figure out what culture you guys want to build. You guys got some good ideas. And I'd be like, oh, okay. Yeah, well, that sounds great. Like, you just want me to go envision the workplace that we want to build? And yeah, eventually some what's will come out of it.
Come out of it, because I
yeah.
guarantee you, I cannot sit still. I don't
Oh,
care what I do. If I do something that is aligning with what I like, I sit there like 24 hours and I do that. And I've done that before, right?
Right.
So for you, you probably, hey, if you get to play pickleball all day, you play pickleball all day. You're even coming to this thing late because you lost track of time. So that's what I'm saying is
the true key.
we are so addicted to the things
Yes.
that makes us enjoy our life, and that is going to produce a lot of massive values.
If you want to know if you love something, like whenever you lose track of time doing something, and then you look up and you're like, shit, like,
this is not
like,
the first time either.
This happens. Honestly, the only reason it didn't happen before was because I had to set my alarm to alert me, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go home. Like, this sucks.
To me, is the clear evidence of what aligns.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. All right, I'm gonna go to bed because that's important. Number one, a shield, right? All right, so we'll see you all tomorrow night, and thanks for joining.
Yeah, bye.